I'd like to respond to at least one comment here, and it's very strange because it's a comment which is left on a piece that I was doing about the confusion of language and stuff, and it should really have been left on a video about Liz Truss must go. And it's from Lamestream Media, who says, when someone you likes a bad thing years ago, then gets cancelled, that is wrong. I think that's a reference to Laurence Fox. Jess Phillips mentioned Carl Benjamin for something he said years ago, and you're all for hating on him. Interesting how neurals like you perceive and think. Well, in the video that I gave, I think I referred to Carl Benjamin as a vile individual. Maybe that was an overstatement. I've seen Carl Benjamin once or twice. I think Carl Benjamin is a bumptious individual, really. I think vile is I agree. It's a bit of an overstatement, but his comment is deeply wrong, and the fact that it encouraged his followers to congregate and to post stuff about rugging people. I'm using the same word I used in the earlier video to avoid falling foul of the YouTube algorithm. And Carl Benjamin is this fellow who runs Lotus Eaters. I think it's also important pointing out that when Liz Truss was interviewed on Lotus Eaters, she was not interviewed by Carl Benjamin. She was interviewed by Connor Tomlinson, a different person. And what I object to are the deeply off-colour jokes. I objected to the off-colour joke by Laurence Fox and the fact that it was not contextualised or indeed rejected at the time by Dan Wootton. And it's my belief that that joke was already approved by the team on GB News anyway. So everybody was behind that laddish banter and that nastiness. And it goes, I think those jokes about shagpile and about rugging go beyond laddish banter. They're part of the stuff which we are putting onto the media, and we should take responsibility for that. There's one thing, this rugging and the shagging rug stuff, this is innuendo, but behind it, particularly the rugging issues, there is an element of predatory viciousness, which is particularly nasty. And I don't particularly like the shagging reference of Laurence Fox, but the rugging reference takes that beyond the pale. So it's not about simply when someone I like says a bad thing. Yes, the shagging reference was a bad thing, and I think that Laurence being cancelled was an inappropriate response. I think the rugging thing is significantly worse. And although I think that Carl Benjamin is quite a personable individual, I think he crossed the line significantly with that statement. I am fully aware of the concept of the rugging issue. I've been involved in a court case which went to the European Court of Human Rights. My partner was a victim of exactly that issue and was rugged by Greek coast guards, and 20 years down the line it's still something that figures. It's not, this isn't something you get over. And to make that into a joke, and to encourage followers to joke about that, is unforgivable, really, I think. So as I say, vile individual, I don't know him. Vile statement, absolutely. And it's a statement that Laurence Fox did not make. Laurence Fox talked about something else. It wasn't tasteful, but it wasn't rugging. And should somebody be excoriated for off-color jokes? It's an open platform. This is the point. And I can make a decision not to watch Carl Benjamin stuff, not to follow Lotus Eaters. Actually, I don't make that decision. I do look occasionally because I think it's important to look at what people might be saying, whether you like them or not, whether you endorse them. My first experience of Carl Benjamin was the rugging issue, and that colours my opinion. Sorry. I've since seen him looking rather sheepish and trying to explain how you deal with nasty comments, and my heart warms a little, and I would certainly be open to a conversation, but he doesn't start off on a tick box positive. When it comes to Liz Truss, and this is really where the difference lies, when it comes to Liz Truss, a former Prime Minister, endorsing Carl Benjamin, whose programme, who started this programme, the Lotus Eaters, endorsing Carl Benjamin and being seen to endorse Carl Benjamin. Why didn't she choose Laurence Fox? Laurence Fox would have been better. Laurence Fox seems to be beyond the pale. Carl Benjamin is not. No, this is wrong, and this is a misjudgment on the part of Liz Truss. It's not one misjudgment, it's one of many. Frankly, every time she opens her mouth is a misjudgment. She needs to retire. She needs to have been put in the House of Lords at the point when she stopped being Prime Minister. She needs to be held responsible for what she did, and she needs to be out of the mainstream of political debate, and certainly out of the running for being the next Prime Minister. Do you realise, here's an interesting idea, should the general election go as badly as the Daily Telegraph and some of the Conservative press was suggesting, with only 66 MPs and a huge number of senior cabinet ministers removed, James Cleverly, Penny Mordaunt, Priti Patel, and I think Jeremy Hunt, though the Telegraph left Jeremy Hunt off the list. Jeremy Hunt has a very small majority, which I think he's going to be very lucky to surmount. And so if all of those go, who is going to be left among the ex-cabinet ministers to tout for being leader of the opposition? Suella Braverman or Liz Truss? We could well be in a situation where they are the only choices for the next leader of the Conservatives, other than David Cameron. That would be interesting. David Cameron might actually lead a revival of the Conservative Party. That may be the only hope for the survival of the Conservative Party. Otherwise, it will go down the Tufton Street. It will be led by Tufties, and it might end up joining with Reform. That would be interesting as well. Nigel Farage might eventually become the leader of, quote, the Conservative-Reform UK. But the old Tories, the Middle England Conservatives, will have no choice but to ally with the Liberal Democrats, the Lib Dems. There will be no other choice, unless proportional representation comes in which case the Conservatives can say goodbye to ever being in control again, and they will ultimately have to make a decision about whether or not to ally with the far right or with the Lib Dem centralists to form any form of coalition government in the future. We are looking at an extinction event, and Liz Truss should be taken out of that equation. Now, you might think that my saying this is absurd, given that I'm so opposed to Suella Braverman. Yes, I am, but I'm more opposed to crowning somebody who has been so badly, who has behaved so badly with power in the first place. I think Suella Braverman would be a disastrous leader of the Conservatives. I think she would have been much more of a disaster as Prime Minister. When she was appointed as Home Secretary, I was not alone in having quite a lot of hopes for her. I thought she was an interesting individual. I thought she spoke well. But once she got into power, she offered very little other than a postscript, and a very nasty postscript, to the work set out by Priti Patel. And her instinct was to try to outdo Priti Patel's methodology. It's not the way forward. It's not the way forward. Maybe there's something that can be clawed back from Suella Braverman's character, because I'm sure that initial impulse that she was something positive cannot be entirely mistaken. I wasn't alone in believing this, and I was discussing it, in fact, yesterday. I was not alone. But she was a great disappointment. And she may be, as I say, along with Liz Truss, the only hope. The issue about Jess Phillips was Liz Truss, not Carl Benjamin. And lamestream media, that's as much of an answer as I can possibly give, without going further into off-color jokes and sizable platforms and being robust when being attacked and all that sort of stuff. Well, I'm entirely sympathetic to all that. But the focus must be on Liz Truss, not on Carl Benjamin.